much for meeting with me today.
Sure.
Of course, we're going to talk about your new project, which is called Bellflower. It's releasing, you have the date?
Yeah, it's coming out December 11th. So I don't even want to date this interview. So yeah, it's coming out. It's coming out soon. Yeah, December 11th.
I appreciate you sending over the link too.
Oh yeah, man, had to.
That shit was fire.
Man.
That shit, it's one of the key notices that I found from that was how much different it sounded from Greenhouse. And that's whenever I kind of started paying attention to what you were posting to hype up the project, and from what I remember, whenever you first released the Greenhouse EP, one of the first things that stuck out to me was the name change that you had. All of your previous music released under B. Anderson, but now you're changing and branding up to Bando, which is on your hat too.
Yeah.
What made you want to switch that up?
So my name was never supposed to be B. Anderson when I first started rapping. I remember just coming out with a tape, and I didn't really have a rap name. So I was just B. Anderson, because my name is Brandon Anderson. But Bando, yeah, right, crazy. But so whenever I moved to LA and I really started figuring myself out as an artist and really being sure of who I was, I just kind of felt like it was a time to, make that apparent as far as, my whole brand. So Bando was already my nickname with my friends, but really more so it just kind of felt like, the artist, part of me. So I was able to separate it, from, Brandon Anderson.
I like that you touched up on growing as an artist and triggering too. Was there any growth within the sound too that made you feel that there's a specific sound you wanted to develop for Bellflower?
Yeah, for sure. Cause Bellflower was the first project that I'm dropping really by myself. I mean, I have 2 features on there, but beyond that, even with Greenhouse, there was a feature on every song. And then before that, the last, I guess, project that I put out outside of my video series, which was in 2018, I put out another project in 2017. And that was the last one I did. That was pretty much strictly by myself. So I wanted to just cultivate a sound that was, organic to me. Cause like I said before, the projects were tailored to 2 different artists trying to, make what sounded best, as far as the relationship between us. But with this, I wanted to make something that was, sounded organic and fresh to me. So yeah, I definitely had an intention of making a particular sound with Bellflower.
I feel that. You could definitely hear it too. It for real sounded like 2 different completely artists. It's kind of you've grown, you've shown that growth between this album, which is really dope.
Man, I'm glad it's apparent though, because some people be I'm trying to grow and make the same song. Yeah, for sure. So
I feel that. What were the key pieces that you felt you wanted to show on this album?
Just really my songwriting skills, but more so just my melodies. I think before, just in my previous releases and just in my catalog, I've always tried to be a super lyrical type of person, showing my pen. But as time has passed, I don't really feel I have as much to prove in that sense. I feel the essence of song making is, the melodies and, making it just sound good and just ear grabbing for the listener. So that was definitely something I was intentional about. I tried to, focus on making, better melodies, making, just better retainable music for people.
Was this the first project where you kind of played creatively about where you wanted to take it?
Yeah, for sure. I think I definitely had more so of a input because not saying that I didn't really just have input with my prior releases, but it was more so a cut and dry type of thing. You get the beat, you write to it, you get it mixed, put it out. Right. This is the first time I really was in in really close proximity to the point where the intro, you'll hear on the intro, that initially was like a double time beat. But you know, when I was with Alexander Lewis, when he was making it, you know, I actually had the input of, nah, slow this down. No, you know, add these vocals behind it. Even with beats like the song Be Cool, my homeboy Super Miles made that. And, you know, he made the beat and I rapped over it, but then he was like, nah, like, let me add, you know, these saxophone elements, which like completely brought the song to a whole, a completely different level than, you know, from when, you know, we first made it. So it was just like, you know, having that input really just helped me organically like cultivate like a sound that I was comfortable with.
That's so dope. Yeah. So dope. How long have you been working on this project?
So I was working on an album for like a really long time, but it kind of felt dated to me. So with Bellflower, you know, I really started that like in the middle of the pandemic because I had this album. And you know, I was really trying to like get it off the ground, get some support behind it. And then the pandemic hit around like March, and then everything pretty much like just stopped. Right. So I was like in like a depression a little bit, like musically, because I didn't know, you know, what I wanted to do. But I just knew I wanted to make something that was, you know, that felt more current and just not dated, you know what I'm saying? So I started working on just songs probably around like May or June. And then it was just like, I kept knocking out songs that I was like happy with. So I want to say once I got to like my third song, I was like, nah, I need to like make a project, you know, kind of encapsulating this moment that I'm in right now. So I had like about one or two songs from my old album that made it on the Bellflower, but the rest is like just completely new. So yeah, it took me about 5 months.
You touched up on that because I wanted to. This year specifically was just very tough for like artists of all media because it was just very unusual and a very strange time to like kind of go about it. Like what kept you inspired throughout those dark times?
Man, honestly, just the fact of just being blessed, like to be able to, you know, survive in this like pandemic. I mean, you know, a lot of people like lost a lot, and like for me, you know, I wasn't hit as hard as like a lot of other people, so that made me like really grateful, especially like, you know, we're in a year where nobody could expect, you know, what happened. So I kind of took things into perspective, like, damn, like I'm, you know, glad to be able to, you know, live in LA and, you know, continue to, you know, make my music and be happy. You know, some people get up in the morning and, you know, got to put on their boots and do something they don't want to do. Other people just lost their jobs completely. So it was like, that kind of gave me the inspiration to, you know, act on those opportunities. So yeah, just being blessed to be able to do it gave me the inspiration to do it.
Did you feel like it creatively affected the way you write songs or the way you like work around?
Yeah, definitely. I think getting older too, and just like seeing time pass, kind of just gave me more perspective as far as like how I wanted to make my music. You know, creatively just being intentional with everything that I'm doing, you know, as far as like with, you know, people listening to my music in the future. Music lives forever. So it's like, so it just helped me like creatively, like, you know, just be more aware of what I was saying, the type of music I was making, and the type of music that I was happy with.
You're just a very good person to interview. How to
appreciate it.
It just goes on to my next question. I always hear like with artists and all mediums too, including artists, like whether if it's like drawing or painting or music, I always hear them say that they just like express a feeling of never knowing whenever they're completely finished with the project, because there's always things you could add, like there's always things that you could touch up on. But how was the experience with Bellflower, and how did you fully know like this is complete, like I'm ready to show the world what I made?
After kind of putting it together, because you know, with artists, like they'll make a bunch of songs and then like they'll play with different track lists and things of that nature. So once I kind of put it in the order that that it eventually ended up being, and I listened to it, it just sounded like I didn't have anything else to say. Like as far as, like I said before, like encapsulating like the entire moment, it just seemed like that particular order of songs that I did it. It just sounded right. And then on top of that, like once I went back and looked at it, it was 7 songs, and 7 is the universal number of completion. And I mean, not that I'm just super big on it, but it's just like it kind of more so was like a sign like that, this was the right amount. It sounded right. It's the right amount of time, because with music nowadays, it's like people it's real microwave, like so I wasn't trying to have like an hour-long project, especially with this being my first like offering since a really long time. So I felt like it was the right amount, the right length of time, and yeah, it just felt right.
Mm-hmm. Where in the mix of all of this, where does Bellflower come into play? Like, what's your connection to it?
Yeah. So my mom her side of the family is all actually in the Compton, like East Compton area, like South Central Los Angeles. And so I was conceived there. My sister was born there, but we were pretty much there like all throughout like my life, from like Christmas breaks to summer breaks to Thanksgiving breaks, all that. I was either in Texas or I was in Compton or in the Bellflower area, like growing up with my mom's side of the family. And when I decided to move to LA, I moved to Bellflower. I lived with my cousin and my aunt, that whole entire side of the family. So I kind of just felt like with this moment and like coming back and really refamiliarize myself with LA, it was just like the perfect name, because it was just a moment that I was in. So that's what the project is doing. It's kind of telling you how I got back into the fold of living in LA, being around my family, and really just finding myself. It's pretty much the benchmark of who Bando is now. So
would you say there's like any differences that you saw whenever you make music, being here in LA versus being in Dallas?
Yeah, definitely. But I think I don't think it's necessarily like a widespread thing, like to where everybody will feel it. But I think for me, it just kind of takes that comfortability away from me in a sense, because I did feel a little bit comfortable in Dallas, kind of like of where I was. Just because it's definitely like a slower moving type of environment. It's definitely more lax, and just it being like my hometown, like I have no choice but to be more lax. That's where my family is. That's where I know where everything is. To where from here, a lot of stuff is familiar, and I do have family out here, but it's definitely more so of like, I feel like I'm here to do a job, like I'm here with a mission. Yeah, I'm here with a mission. So it definitely was, it's good for me, because it gives me more so a sense of urgency being out here.
And being out here, there's like so many artists that you could be reach to. Who's like the couple people you want to work with?
So I want to work with Blast. Blast is super dope. He's an artist from LA. Outside of him, I want to work with I want to work with the Ghosts, man. The Kendricks and the Coles. I want to work with anybody who's willing to work with me and kind of just sees the vision of where I'm trying to go with my music. So
I hope that happens. Your sound is very universal, so I really do hope people are able to wake up and see.
Hey, man.
I really do like your project. Like, no bullshit.
Yeah.
It's a really good project.
No, that makes me feel good, man. I appreciate it.
One of the songs that stood out to me the most was the very last one. And what?
Joy.
That's what's called Joy.
Joy. Yeah.
That I feel like that song in particular, it reminded me of like you just being in a booth and just like just spitting, like just saying whatever's in your mind, however it flows and goes, and
Yeah.
you touched up a lot of, like on your fears, like which is very deep.
Yeah, that's that was like one of the, and that's just a benchmark of showing like how I've kind of like changed as far as like how I've grown my music, because it was definitely a personal like type of song that I kind of just wanted to get off, because I ain't never really just told people how I feel. I think in previous music I've kind of just told other people how to feel. So yeah, it was definitely like something new for me, but at the same time it was like a type of moment. So yeah, that's why it's like the last song on the project, because like that's kind of like what I want to leave you with. Like, you know, I have fears just like everybody else, but in the same sentiment, you know, I'm like, you know, I'm not gonna give up. So yeah.
So what can we expect from you next?
Man, just more music, and really just seeing my face more. I'm trying to do better with like my branding and stuff like that. But yeah, just releasing more music. Yeah, I got a couple, you know, partnerships down the way, trying to, you know, bring those into fruition. And yeah, just expect to hear more Bando. Like, here, you're gonna get tired of me, and you know, at this point, but you know, hope you continue to listen.
I hope we don't ever get tired, and I hope it continues to grow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sitting with me, Brendan.
Man, thank you for having me. Yeah, this was great. This was great questions, man. Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
I really do hope you brought out the true sentiment of the project. It's a really good one. We can't wait to see the audience reaction to it.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thank you.